she goes, my tears will never stop. For as a player, I can't squeeze out one drop. I am undone. That's all shall lose my bread. Oh, I'd rather, but that's nothing, lose my head.
Anyway, I thought it was mine.
It's okay, you can go.
When the sweet maid is laid upon the bier, Chateau and I shall be chief mourners here. What shall we do if comedy forsake us? They'll turn us out, and no one else will take us. Oh!
Thus I begin. All is not gold that glitters. Pleasure seems sweet, but proves a glass of bitters. Let not your virtue trip. Who trips may stumble, and virtue is not virtue if she tumble. Huh? I give it up. Morals won't do for me. To make you laugh, I must play tragedy. Ooh!
One hope remains. Hearing the maid was ill, a doctor comes this night to show his skill, to cheer her heart and give your muscles motion. He, in 2 drops prepared, presents a potion. The script. Oh. A kind of magic charm, for be assured, if you will swallow it, the maid is cured.
But desperate the doctor, and her case is, if you reject the dose and make wry faces, the audience, you must his pretensions back, pronounce him regular, or dub him quack.
Well, I vow, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular. Is there a creature in the whole countryside but ourselves that does not take a trip to town now and again to rub off the rust a little?
Aye, and bring back vanity and affectation to last them the whole year. I wonder why London cannot keep its own fools at home. In my time, the follies of the town crept slowly among us, and now they travel faster than a stagecoach.
Aye, your times were fine times indeed. You have been telling us of them for many a long year. Here we live in an old, rumbling mansion that looks for all the world like an inn, but that we never see company. And all our entertainment, your old stories of Prince Eugene and the Duke of Marlborough. I hate such old-fashioned trumpery.
And I love it. I love everything that's old. Old friends, old times, old manners, old books, old wine, And I believe, Dorothy, you'll own I have been pretty fond of an old wife.
Lord, Mr. Hardcastle, you're forever at your Dorothys and your old wives. I'm not so old as you make me. Add 20 to 20 and make money of that.
Let me see. 20 added to 20 makes 50 and 7.
It's false, Mr. Hardcastle. I was but that 20 when I was brought to bed of Tony that I had by Mr. Lumpkin, my first husband.
Ugh.
And Tony hasn't come of age. He's not 21 yet.
Nor ever will, I dare answer for him. You have taught him finely.
No matter. Tony Lumpkin has a good fortune. My son is not to live by his learning. I don't think a boy wants much learning to spend. 1,500 a year.
Learning. For him, he's a mere composition of tricks and mischief.
Humor, my dear. Come, Mr. Hardcastle, you must allow the boy a little humor.
I'd sooner allow him a horse pond. If burning the footman's shoes, frightening the maids, wearing the kitten be humor, he has it. It was but yesterday he fastened my wig to the back of my chair, and when I went to make a bow, I popped my bald head in Miss Frizzle's face.
And am I to blame? The poor boy was always too sickly to do any good. A school would be his death. When he comes to be a little stronger, who knows what a year or two's Latin may do for him?
Latin? For him? A cat and a fiddle? No. The alehouse and the stable are the only schools he'll ever go to.
Well, we must not snub the dear boy now, for I believe we shan't have him long among us. Anybody that looks in his face may see he's consumptive.
You've grown too fat be one of the symptoms.
He coughs sometimes.
Yes, when his punch goes the wrong way.
I'm actually worried for his lungs.
And truly so am I, for he sometimes whoops like a speaking trumpet.
Yeah!
Oh, there he goes, a very consumptive figure truly.
Tony, where are you going, my charmer? Won't you give Step-Papa and I a little of your company, love?
I'm in haste, Mother. I cannot stay.
You shan't venture out this raw evening, my dear. You look most shockingly.
I can't stay, I tell you. The Three Pigeons expects me every moment. There's some fun going forward.
Aye, the alehouse, the old place. I thought so.
Hello, paltry set of fellows. Pray, my dear, disappoint them for one night at least.
As for disappointing them, I should not so much mind. But I can't disappoint myself.
You shan't go.
I will, I tell you.
I say you shan't.
We'll see which is strongest, you or I. Oh, Mother! Oh!
There goes a pair that will only spoil each other. But is not the whole age in a combination to drive sense and discretion out of doors? My pretty darling Kate, for instance, the fashions of the times have almost infected her too. By living a year or two in London, she is as fond of gauze and French frippery as the best of them.
Father? Father, talking to yourself again.
Blessings on my pretty innocence. Dressed out as usual, my Kate. Goodness, what a quantity of superfluous silk hast thou got about thee, girl?
You know our agreement, sir. You allow me the morning to receive and pay visits and to dress in my own manner. And in the evening time I put on my housewife's dress to please you.
Well, remember, I insist on the terms of our agreement. And by the by, I believe I shall have occasion to try your obedience this very evening.
I protest, sir, I don't comprehend your meaning.
Then, to be plain with you, Kate, I expect the young gentleman I have chosen to be your husband from town this very day. I have his father's letter in which he informs me that his son is on his way and that he intends to follow shortly after.
Indeed. I wish I'd known something of this before. Bless me, how shall I behave? It's 1,000 to 1 I shan't like him. Our meeting will be so formal and so like a thing of business. I shall find no room for friendship or esteem.
Depend on it, child. I'll never control your choice. But Mr. Marlowe, whom I have pitched upon, is the son of my old friend Sir Charles Marlowe, of whom you've heard me talk so often. The young man has been bred a scholar and is designed for an employment in the service of his country. I am told he is a man of excellent understanding.
Is he?
Very generous.
I believe I shall like him.
Young and brave.
I'm sure I shall like him.
And very handsome.
My dear papa, say no more. He's mine. I'll have him.
And to crown all, Kate, his father assures me he's one of the most bashful and reserved young fellows in all the world.
You have frozen me to death again, papa. A reserved man, it is said, always makes the most suspicious husband.
On the contrary, modesty seldom resides in a breast that is not enriched with nobler virtue. It was the very feature in his character that first struck me.
He must have more striking features to catch me, I assure you. However, if he be so young, so handsome, and so everything as you mentioned, I believe he'll do still. I think I'll have him.
Aye, Kate, but there is an obstacle. It's more than an even wager that he may not have you.
Oh, my dear papa, why will you mortify one so? Well, if he refuses, instead of breaking my heart at his indifference, I'll only break my glass for its flattery, set my cap to some newer fashion, and look for some less difficult admirer.
Bravely resolved. In the meantime, I'll go prepare the servants for his reception, as we seldom see company. They want as much training as a company of recruits the first day's muster.
Lord, this news of papa's puts me all in a flutter. Young, handsome, these he put last, and I put them foremost. Brave, sensible, I like all that, but then reserved and sheepish. That's much against him. Yet, can't he be cured of this timidity by being taught to be proud of his wife? Yes, and can't I... But I vow I'm disposing of the husband, for I've secured the man.
Kate! Kate!
Constance! I'm so glad you're here. Tell me, how do I look? Is there anything whimsical about me today? Is this one of my well-looking days, child? Have I a face today?
Perfectly, my dear. Yet now I look again. Bless me. Has the last novel been too moving?
No. Nothing of all this. I have been threatened. I can scarce get it out. I have been threatened with a man.
And his name?
Is Marlowe.
Indeed.
The son of Sir Charles Marlowe.
As I live, the most intimate friend of Mr. Hastings, my admirer. They are never asunder. I believe you must have seen him when we lived in town.
Never.
Mr. Marlowe, a very singular character, I assure you. Among women of reputation and virtue, he is the modestest man alive. But his acquaintance give him a very different character among creatures of another stamp. You understand me.
An odd character indeed. I shall never be able to manage him. What shall I do? Think no more of him, but trust occurrences for success. But how goes on your own affair, my dear? Has my mother been courting you for my brother Tony, as usual?
I have just come from one of our agreeable tete-a-tetes. She has been saying 100 tender things and is setting off her pretty monster as the very pink of perfection.
And her partiality is such that she actually thinks him so. Well, a fortune like yours is no small temptation, and as she has the sole management of it, I'm not surprised to see her so unwilling to let it go out of the family.
A fortune like mine, which chiefly consists in jewels, is no such mighty temptation.
But at any rate, if my dear Hastings be but constant, I shall prove too hard for her at last. However, I let her suppose that I'm in love with her son, and she never once dreams that my affections are fixed upon another.
My good half-brother holds out stoutly. I could almost love him for hating you so.
Tony is a good-natured creature at bottom, and I'm sure would wish to see me married to anybody but himself. But my aunt's bell rings for our walk round the improvements. Courage is necessary as our affairs are critical.
Would it were bedtime?
And all were well.
Squire Lumpkin's gonna knock himself down for a song.
Hey! 3 pigeons! 1, 2. All right. Teachers puzzle their brains with grammar, nonsense, and learning. I flunked out of daycare. Let 'em brag about their better discerning. C's get degrees. Teachers try to tame the heart with tales of fire and brimstone. Never gonna tame this heart, Mr. Preacher Man. Let 'em whine, their inquisition is burning. The world does not revolve around the rules you sell. Freedom tastes like games of magic, like a pirate ship cut against currents of the open sea.
Tony!
I love you, 3 pigeons!
The squire has got spunk in it.
Oh, I loves to hear him sing, because he never gives us nothing that's low.
Oh, forget anything that's low. I cannot bear it. Oh.
What a pity it is the squire is not come to his own fortune yet. It would be well for all the publicans within 10 miles round of him.
It could, and so it would, my lady. I'd then show what it was to keep a choice of company.
Oh, he takes after his own father for that. To be sure, old Squire Lumpkin was the finest gentleman I ever set my eyes on. For blowing the straight horn or beating the thicket for a hare. You know, it was a saying in the place that he had the best horses, dogs, and girls in the whole county.
It could, and when I'm of age, I'll be no changeling, I promise you. You know, I have been thinking of Bet Bouncer and the Miller's Grey Mare to begin with. But come, friends, drink and be merry, for you pay no reckoning.
Thank you, Tony.
Stingo, what's the matter?
There be 2 gentlemen in a postchaise at the door. They have lost their way in the forest and they are talking something about Mr. Oddcastle.
Sure as can be. One of them must be the gentleman that's coming down to court my sister. Do they seem to be Londoners?
I believe they may. They look woundily like Frenchmen.
Then desire them. Step this way. I'll set them right in a twinkle. My friends, as they mayn't be good enough company for you, step this way. I'll be with you in the squeezing of a lemon. Stepfather Hardcastle has been calling me whelp and hound this past half year. Now, if I so desired, I could be revenged upon the old Grumbletonian. But I'm afraid of what? I shall soon be worth 1,500 a year. Let him frighten me out of that if he can.
This way, young gentlemen. If you please.
What a tedious, uncomfortable day have we had of it. We were told it was but 40 miles across the country, and we have come above 60.
And all, Marlowe, from that unaccountable reserve of yours that would not let us inquire more frequently on the way.
I own Hastings. I am unwilling to lay myself under an obligation to everyone I meet, and often stand the chance of an unmannerly answer.
At present, however, we are not likely to receive any answer.
No offense, gentlemen, but I hear you have been inquiring for one Mr. Hardcastle of these parts. Do you know which part of the country you were in?
Not in the least, sir, but should thank you for information.
Nor the way you came.
No, sir, but if you can inform
Why,
us...
gentlemen, if you know neither the road you are going nor whence you came, the first thing I have to tell you is that you have lost your way.
We wanted no ghost to tell us that.
Pray, is this the same Mr. Hardcastle, a cross-grained, old-fashioned, whimsical fellow with an ugly face, a daughter, and a pretty son?
We have not seen the gentleman, but he has the family you mentioned.
The daughter, a tall, traipsing, trolloping, talkative maypole. The son, a pretty, well-bred, agreeable youth that everyone is fond of.
Our information differs in this. The daughter is said to be well-bred and beautiful. The son an awkward booby, reared up and spoiled at his mother's apron string.
Well, gentlemen, the first thing I have to tell you is that you will not reach Mr. Hardcastle's this night, I believe.
Oh, unfortunate.
It's a long, dark, boggy, dirty, dangerous way. Stingo, tell the gentleman the way to Mr. Hardcastle's. Mr. Hardcastle's of Quagmire Marsh. You understand me?
Master Hardcastles! Look at Daisy, my masters. You come a deadly deal wrong. When you came to the bottom of the hill, you should have crossed down Squash Lane.
Cross down Squash Lane.
Then you would keep straight forward till you came to the 4 roads.
Come to where 4 roads meet.
Yes, but you must be sure to take one of them.
Oh, sir, you're facetious.
Then, keeping to the right, you have to go sideways till you come upon Crackskull Common. Coming to the common, you look sharp for the track of the wheel. There, you are to go forward till you find Farmer Muirn's barn. Now, coming to the barn, you are to go right, and then to the left, and then to the right again, till you find the old mill.
Zoons, man, we could as soon find out the longitude.
What's to be done, Marlowe?
Well, this house promises but a poor reception, though perhaps the landlord can accommodate us.
Alack, master, we have but 1 spare bed in the old house.
And to my knowledge, that's been taken up by 3 lodgers already. But, pray, sirs, what if you go on only a mile further to the Buck's Head, the old Buck's Head on the hill, one of the finest inns in the whole county?
Oh, so we have escaped an adventure for this night, however.
You aren't sending them to your father's as an inn, be you?
Mom, you fool. Let them find that out. Gentlemen, you have to only go straight forward till you find a large old house by the roadside. There, above the door, you'll see antlers. That's the sign. Buck's Head. Drive up the odd cost stoutly about you.
Sir, we are obliged to you. Our servants can't miss the way.
No. Though I tell you, the landlord is rich and going to leave off business, so he wants to be thought a gentleman. He'll be for giving you his presents, and if you mind him, he'll convince you his mother was an alderman, and his aunt a justice of the peace.
A troublesome old blade, to be sure, but it keeps as good wines and beds as any in the old country.
Well, if he supplies us with these, we shall want no farther connection. We are to turn to the right, did you say?
No. Straight forward. I'll just step myself and show you a piece of the way.
Mom.
Ah, bless his heart, for a sweet, pleasant, mischievous young boy.
Well, I hope you are perfect in the table exercise I've been teaching you these 3 days. You all know your posts and your places and can show that you've been used to good company without ever stirring from home.
I.
And when company comes, you're not to pop out and stare and then run in again like frightened rabbits in a warren.
No.
You, what was it? Bill. No. Oh, Diggory, whom I've taken from the barn, are to make a show at the side table. And you, Roger, whom I've advanced from the plough, are to place yourself behind my chair. But you are not to stand so with your hands in your pockets. Take your hands from your pockets, Roger. And from your head. You blockhead, you. I see how Diggory carries his hands. They're a little too stiff indeed, but that's no great matter.
Mind how I hold them. I learned to hold my hands this way when I was a pond drill for the militia, and so, being a pond drill...
You must not be so talkative, Diggory. You must be all attention to the guest. You must hear us talk and not think of talking. You must see us drink and not think of drinking. You must see us eat and not think of eating.
By the laws, your worship, that's perfectly impossible. Whenever Diggory sees eating going forward, he's always wishing for a mouthful himself.
Blockhead! Look. Then, if I happen to say a good thing or tell a good story at the table, you must all not burst out a laughing as if you made part of the company.
Then your worship must not tell the story of old Grizz in the gun room. I can't help laughing at that. Oh, the soul of me. We've laughed at that these 20 years.
The story is a good one. Well, honest Diggory, you may laugh at that. But still remember to be attentive.
Oh.
Suppose one of the company should call for a glass of punch. How will you behave? A glass of punch, sir, if you please. Why don't you move?
Ecod, your worship, I never have courage till I see the eatables and the drinkables brought up at a table. Then I'm as bold as a lion. Oh! No.
What, will nobody move?
I'm not to leave this place.
Get out of there.
I'm sure it's no place of mine, and I'm sure it cannot be mine.
You numbskulls! Oh, you dunces! I find I must begin all over again. But don't I hear a coach drive into the yard? To your post, you blockheads! In the meantime, I'll go give my old friend's son a hearty reception at my gate.
By the 11s, my place has gone right out of my head.
I know that my place is to be everywhere.
My place is to be nowhere at all, so I go about my business. Hey! This way.
Welcome! Welcome! Very welcome. This way. Welcome. Very, very welcome. Welcome. Very, 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 very welcome.
After the disappointments of the day, welcome once more, Charles, to the comforts of a clean room and a good fire. Upon my word, a very well-looking house. Antique, but credible.
The usual fate of a large mansion. Having first ruined the master by good housekeeping, and at last comes to levy contributions as an inn.
As you say, we travellers are taxed to pay all these fineries. I have often seen a good sideboard or a marble chimney piece, though not actually put in the bill, inflame a reckoning confoundedly.
Travellers, George, must... Oh, hello.
Oh, welcome! Welcome, 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 welcome!
All right. Travellers, George, must pay in all places. The only difference is that in good inns you pay dearly for luxuries. In bad inns you are fleeced and starved.
You have lived very much among them. In truth, I am often surprised that you, who have seen so much of the world, with your natural good sense and your many opportunities, could never yet acquire a requisite share of assurance.
The Englishman's malady. But tell me, George, where could I have learned that assurance you talk of? My life has been chiefly spent in a college or an inn, in seclusion from that lovely part of the creation that chiefly teach men confidence. I don't know that I was ever familiarly acquainted with a single modest woman, except my mother. But among females of another class, you know.
Aye, among them you are impudent enough of all conscience.
They are of us, you know. Much appreciated.
Sweet. But in the company of women of class, I never saw such an idiot, such a trembler.
Beep, 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 beep.
You look for all the world as if you wanted an opportunity of stealing out of the room.
Why, man, that's because I do want to steal out of the room. Faith, I've often formed a resolution to break the ice and rattle away at any rate. But I don't know why. A single glance from a pair of fine eyes has totally overset my resolution. An impudent fellow may counterfeit modesty, but I'll be hanged if a modest man can ever counterfeit impudence.
If you could but say half the fine things to them that I've heard you lavish upon the barmaid of an inn or even a college bedmaker.
Why, George, I can't say fine things to them. They freeze, they petrify me. To me, a modest woman dressed out in all her finery is the most tremendous object of the whole creation.
At this rate, man, how can you ever expect to marry?
Never. Unless, as among kings and princes, my bride were to be courted by proxy. But to go through all the terrors of a formal courtship, together with the episode of aunts, grandmothers, and cousins, and at last to blurt out the broad, staring question of, "Madam, will you marry me?" No, that's a strain much above me, I assure you.
I pity you. But how do you intend behaving to the lady you are come down to visit at the request of your father?
As I behave to all other ladies. Bow very low, answer yes or no to all her demands. I don't think I shall venture to look her in the face till I see my father's again.
I'm surprised one who is so warm a friend can be so cool a lover.
To be explicit, my dear Hastings, my chief inducement down was to be instrumental in forwarding your happiness, not my own. Miss Constance Neville loves you. The family don't know you. As my friend, you are sure of a reception, and let honor do the rest.
Oh, my dear Marlowe. But I'll suppress the emotion. Were I a wretch meanly seeking to carry off a fortune, you would be the last man in the world I would apply to for assistance. But Miss Neville's person is all I ask. And that is mine, both from her deceased father's consent and her own inclination.
Happy man, you have talents and art to captivate any woman. I am doomed to adore women and yet to converse with the only ones of them I despise. This stammer in my address can never permit me to soar above the reach of a milliner's apprentice or one of the duchesses of Drury Lane. This fellow here to interrupt us.
Gentlemen, once more you are heartily welcome. Which is Mr. Marlowe? Sir, you are heartily welcome. It's not my way, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. I like to greet them in the old style at my gate. I like to see their horses and trunks taken care of.
He has got my name from the servants already. We approve your caution and hospitality, sir. I have been thinking, George, of changing our traveling dresses in the morning. I am grown confoundedly ashamed of mine.
Oh, I beg, Mr. Marlowe, you'll use no ceremony in this house.
I fancy, Charles, you're right. The first blow is half the battle, and I intend opening the campaign with white and gold.
Mr. Marlowe, Mr. Hastings, gentlemen, pray, be under no constraint in this house. This is Liberty Hall, gentlemen. You may do just as you please here.
Yet, George, if we open the campaign too fiercely at first, we may want ammunition before it is over. I think to reserve the embroidery to secure a retreat.
Ooh, you're talking of a retreat, Mr. Marlowe. Puts me in the mind of the Duke of Marlborough. Slide. Thank you. The Duke of Marlborough. The Duke of Marlborough, when we went to besiege Denane, he first summoned the garrison with...
George, don't you think the gold embroidered waistcoat will do with the plain brown?
He first summoned the garrison, which might have consisted of about 5,000 men.
I think not. Brown and yellow mix, but very poorly.
I say, gentlemen, as I was telling you, be summoned the garrison, which might have consisted of 5,000 men. Now, says the Duke of Marlborough to George Brooks, who stood next to him. Upon my dukedom, says he, but I'll take that garrison without spilling a drop of blood. So, as I am...
my good friend, if you gave us a glass of punch in the meantime, it would help us to carry on the siege with vigor.
Punch, sir? This is the most unaccountable kind of modesty I ever met with.
Yes, sir, punch. A glass of warm punch after our journey will be comfortable. This is Liberty Hall, you know.
Here's a cup, sir.
So, this fellow in his Liberty Hall will only let us have just what he pleases.
I hope you'll find it to your own mind. I have prepared it with my own hands, and believe you'll own the ingredients are tolerable. Will you be so good as to pledge me, sir? Here, Mr. Marlowe, here's to our better acquaintance.
A very impudent fellow, this, but he's a character, and I'll humor him a little. Sir, my service to you.
I see this fellow wants to give us his company and forgets that he's an innkeeper before he has learned to be a gentleman.
From the excellence of your cup, my old friend, I suppose you have a good deal of business in this part of the country. Warm work now and then at elections, I suppose.
Oh, no, sir. I've long given that work over. Since our betters have hit upon the expedient of electing each other, there is no advantage in following parties.
Oh, but I'm sure you lead a good, pleasant, bustling life of it.
I do stir about a great deal, that's certain. Half the differences of the parish are adjusted in this very parlour.
And you have an argument in your cup, old gentleman, better than any in Westminster Hall.
Aye, young gentleman, that and a little philosophy.
This is the first I've ever heard of an innkeeper's philosophy.
So then, like an experienced general, you attack them on every quarter with your philosophy. Here's your health, my philosopher.
Good, very good. Thank you. Your generalship puts me in the mind of Prince Eugene when he went to fight the Dorothy. Sorry, that's me wife. Prince Eugene, when he went to fight the Turks at the Battle of Belgrade. You shall hear.
Instead of the Battle of Belgrade, I believe it's almost time to talk about supper. What has your philosophy got in the house for supper?
For supper, sir. Was ever such a request to a man in his own house?
Yes, sir, supper, sir. I begin to feel an appetite. I shall make devilish work tonight in the pantry, I promise you.
Such a brazen dog, sure never my eyes beheld. Why, really, sir, as for supper, I can't well tell. My Dorothy and the cook maid settle these things between them. I believe they're in actual consultation upon what's for supper this moment in the kitchen.
Then I beg they'll admit me as one of their privy council. It's a way I have got. When I travel, I always chose my own supper. Let the cook be called. No offense, I hope, sir.
Oh, no, sir, none in the least. Yet, I don't know how our Bridget, the cookmaid, is not very communicative upon these occasions. Should we send for her, she might scold us all out of the house.
Let's see your list of the pantry, then. I ask it as a favor. I always match my appetite to my bill of fare.
Sir, he's very right, and it's my way, too.
Sir, you have a right to command here. Here. Roger! Oh, Roger!
Sir?
Roger. Bring us the bill of fare for tonight's supper. I believe it's drawn out.
Drawn out?
Yes. Drawn out. The pantry, the food, write it down. Drawn out.
Oh, right, sir. Drawn out. Drawn out.
Roger. Kitchen. Hands. Your manner, Mr. Hastings, puts me in the mind of my uncle, Colonel Wallop. It was a saying of his that no man was sure of his supper till he had eaten it.
His uncle, a colonel. We shall soon hear of his mother being a justice of the peace.
Roger.
Here's the bill of fare, sir. Rightly drawn out.
Yes, give it here, fellow. What's here? For the first course, for the second course, for the dessert? The devil, sir. Do you think we have brought down a whole corporation of London to eat up such a supper? 2 or 3 little things, clean and comfortable, will do.
But let's hear it.
For the first course, at the top, a pig and prune sauce.
Oh. Forget your pig, I say.
Forget your prune sauce, say I.
And yet, gentlemen, to men that are hungry, a pig with prune sauce is very good eating.
At the bottom, a calf's tongue and brains.
Let your brains be knocked out, my good sir. I don't like them.
Or you may clap them on a plate by themselves. I do.
Their impudence confounds me. Gentlemen, you are my guests. Make what alterations you please. Is there anything else you wish to retrench or alter, gentlemen?
Why, really, sir, your bill of fare is so exquisite that any one part of it is full as good as another. Send us what you please. So much for supper. And now to see that our beds are read and properly taken care of.
Oh, I entreat. You'll leave that to me. You shall not stir a step.
Leave that to you. I protest, my good sir, you must excuse me. I always look to these things myself.
I must insist, sir. You'll make yourself easy on that head.
You see, I'm resolved on it. A very troublesome fellow this as I ever met with.
Well, sir, I'm resolved at least to attend ya. This may be modern modesty, but I never saw anything look so like old-fashioned impudence. Please.
Very well, sir. Lead the way. Yes, sir.
So, seems this landlord's civilities begin to grow troublesome. Hello.
George?
Miss Neville? Oh, by all that's happy!
My dear Hastings! To what unexpected good fortune, to what accident am I to ascribe this happy meeting?
Rather let me ask the same question, as I could never have hoped to meet my dearest Constance at an inn.
An inn? Sure, you mistake. My aunt, my guardian, lives here. What could induce you to think this house an inn?
My friend, Mr. Marlowe, with whom I came down, and I have been sent here as to an inn, I assure you. A young fellow whom we accidentally met at a house hard by directed us hither.
Certainly, it must be one of my hopeful cousin's tricks, of whom you have heard me talk so often.
He whom your aunt intends for you? He, Lumpkin, of whom I have such just apprehensions?
You have nothing to fear from him, I assure you. You'd adore him if you knew how heartily he despises me. My aunt knows it too, and has undertaken to court me for him, and actually begins to think she's made a conquest.
Thou dear dissembler, you must know, my Constance, I have just seized this happy opportunity upon my friend's visit here to get admittance into the family. The horses that carried us down are now fatigued from their journey, but they'll soon be refreshed. And then, if my dearest girl will trust in her faithful George Hastings, we shall soon be landed in France, where even among the French, the laws of marriage are respected.
George, I have often told you that though ready to obey you, I yet should leave my little fortune behind with reluctance. The greatest part of it was left me by my uncle, and chiefly consists in jewels. I have been for some time persuading my aunt to let me wear them. I fancy I'm very near succeeding. The instant they are put into my possession, you shall find me ready to make them and myself yours.
Perish the baubles! Your person is all I desire. In the meantime, my friend Marlowe must not be let into his mistake. I know the strange reserve of his temper is such that if abruptly informed of it, he would instantly quit the house before our plan was ripe for execution.
But how shall we keep him in the deception? Kate and I have just returned from walking. What if we still continue to deceive him? Yes, this way.
The assiduities of these good people tease me beyond bearing. My host seems to think it ill manners to leave me alone, so he claps not only himself, but his old-fashioned wife on my back. They talk of coming to sup with us too, and then I suppose we are to run the gauntlet through all the rest of the family. Ah, George, what have we got here?
Oh, my dear Charles, the most fortunate accident. Who do you think is just alighted?
Cannot guess.
Our mistresses, boy. Miss Hardcastle and Miss Neville. Give me leave to introduce Miss Constance Neville to your acquaintance. Happening to dine in the neighborhood, they called on their return to take a pair of fresh horses here at this inn.
At this inn?
Miss Hardcastle has just stepped into the next room and will be back in an instant. Wasn't it lucky, eh?
Oh, Miss Hardcastle, I have been mortified enough of all conscience, and here comes something to complete my embarrassment.
Well, but wasn't it the most fortunate thing in the world?
Oh! Yes! A most joyful encounter. But George, our clothes, you know, are in disorder. What if we should postpone the happiness till tomorrow? Tomorrow at her own house. It will be every bit as convenient and rather more respectful. Tomorrow, let it be.
By no means, sir.
No!
Your ceremony will displease her. The disorder of your dress will show the ardor of your impatience. Besides, she knows you are in the house and will permit you to see her.
Oh, the devil! How shall I support it? Hastings, you must not go. You are to assist me, you know. Oh, I shall be confoundedly ridiculous. Yet hang it, I'll take courage.
Oh, come on, man. It's but the first plunge and all's over. She's but a woman, you know.
And of all women, she that I dread most to encounter.
Oh, Miss Hardcastle, lovely bonnet. Miss Hardcastle, Mr. Marlowe, I'm pleased to bring two people of such merit together that only want to esteem each other.
Now for meeting my modest gentleman with a demure face. And quite in his own manner. I am glad of your safe arrival, sir. I'm told you had some accidents, by the way.
Only a few, madam. Yes, we had some. Yes, a good many accidents, but should be sorry, madam, or rather, glad of any accidents that are so agreeably concluded. Help.
You never spoke better in your whole life. Keep it up and I'll ensure you the victory.
I'm afraid you flatter, sir. You'd have seen so much of the finest company can find little entertainment in an obscure corner of the country.
I have lived. Indeed, in the world, madam, but I have kept very little company. I have been but an observer upon life, while others were enjoying it.
But that, I am told, is the way to enjoy it at last.
Cicero never spoke better. Once more, and you shall be confirmed in assurance forever.
Stand by me then, and when I'm down, throw in a word or two to set me up again.
An observer like you upon life were, I fear, disagreeably employed, as you must have had much more to censure than to approve.
Pardon me, madam. I was always willing to be amused. The folly of most people is rather an object of mirth than uneasiness.
Bravo, bravo. Never spoke so well in your whole life. Well, Miss Hardcastle, it seems as though you and Mr. Marlowe are going to be very good company. It seems our being here will but embarrass the interview.
Not in the least, Mr. Hastings. We like your company of all things. Zounds, George, you're not going to leave. How can you leave us?
You don't consider, man, that we are to manage a little tete-a-tete of our own. Our presence will but spoil the conversation, so we'll retire to the next room.
Oh, please. No.
Charles!
No.
But you have not been wholly an observer, sir, I presume. The ladies, I should hope, have assumed some part of your addresses.
Pardon me, madam, I as yet have studied only to deserve them.
And that, some say, is the very worst way to obtain them.
Perhaps so, madam, but I love to converse only with the more grave and sensible part of the sex. But I'm afraid I grow tiresome.
Not in the least, sir. There's something I like so much as grave conversation. I could hear it forever. Indeed, I've often been surprised how a man of sentiment could ever admire those light, airy pleasures where nothing reaches the heart.
Yeah, it's a disease of the mind, madam. In the variety of taste, there must be some who are wanting a relish for,
I understand you, sir. There must be some who, wanting a relish for refined pleasures, pretend to despise what they are incapable of tasting.
My meaning, madam, but infinitely better expressed. And I can't help observing
You could ever suppose this fellow impudent upon some occasions. You were going to observe, sir?
Yes, madam, I was observing. I protest, madam, I forget what I was going to observe.
I vow, so do I. You were observing, sir, that in this hypocritical age, something about hypocrisy, sir.
Yes, madam, in this age of hypocrisy, there are few who, upon strict inquiry, do not.
I understand you perfectly, sir.
Gad, and that's more than I do myself.
There must be some who do not condemn in public what they practice in private, and in doing so they pay every debt to virtue when they praise it.
True, madam. Those who have most virtue in their mouths have least of it in their bosoms. But I'm sure I tire you, madam.
Not at all, sir. There's something so agreeable and spirited in your manner, such life and force. Pray go on.
Yes, madam, I was saying that there are some occasions when a total want of courage, madam, destroys all the and puts us upon
I agree with you entirely. I beg you'll proceed.
Yes, madam. Morally speaking, madam, but I see Miss Neville expecting us in the next room. I would not intrude for the world.
I protest, sir. I was never more agreeably entertained in my life. I beg you'll proceed.
Yes, madam. I was, but she beckons us to join her. Madam, shall I do myself the honor to attend you?
Well, then I'll follow.
This pretty smooth dialogue is done for me. As you were, madam.
Was there ever such a sober, sentimental interview? I'm certain you scarce looked at my face the entire time. Yet the fellow, but for his unaccountable bashfulness, is pretty well, too. He has good sense, but then so buried in his fears it fatigues one more than ignorance. If I could teach him a little confidence, that would be doing somebody I know a great piece of service. But who is that somebody? That, faith, is a question I can scarce answer.
Well, I vow, Mr. Hastings, you are very entertaining. There's nothing in all the world I love to talk of so much as London and the fashions, though I was never there myself.
Never there? You amaze me. From your air and manner, I had concluded you had been bred all your life, either at Ranelagh, St. James, or Tower Wharf.
Oh, sir, you're only pleased to say so. We country persons can have no manner at all. I'm in love with the town, and that serves to raise me above some of our neighboring rustics. All I can do is to enjoy London at second hand. I take care to know every tete-a-tete from the scandalous magazine, and have all the fashions as they come out in a letter from the two Miss Ricketts of Crooked Lane. Pray, how do you like this head, Mr. Hastings?
Extremely elegant and dégagé, upon my word. Your friseur is a Frenchman, I suppose?
I protest! I dressed it myself from a print in the lady's memorandum book for the last year.
Indeed.
I vow, ever since inoculation began, there is no such thing to be seen as a plain woman, so one must dress a little particular, or one may escape in the crowd.
Oh, but that can never be your case, madam, in any dress.
Yet, What signifies my dressing with such a piece of antiquity by my side as Mr. Hardcastle?
Madam, at your age you may wear what you please, and it must become you.
Pray, Mr. Hastings, what do you take to be the most fashionable age about town?
Some time ago, 40 was all the mode, but I've been told the ladies intend to bring up 50 for the ensuing winter.
Then I shall be too young for the fashion.
No lady begins now to put on jewels until she's past 40.
Oh, and yet my niece Constance is as fond of jewels as the oldest of us all.
Your niece, is she? And that young gentleman, a brother of yours, I presume?
My son, sir. They are contracted to each other. Observe their little sports. They fall in and out 10 times a day as if they were man and wife already. Well, Tony, child, what soft things are you saying to your cousin Constance this evening?
I have been saying no soft things. But it's very hard being followed about so. Ecod, I've no place in the house left to myself but the stable.
Never mind him, Con, my dear. He's in another story behind your back.
There's something generous in my cousin's manner. He falls out in public to be forgiven in private.
That's a confounded lie.
He's a sly one. Don't you think they are like each other about the mouth, Mr. Hastings?
Oh, Lord, he has almost cracked my head.
Oh, the monster! For shame, Tony, you're a man and behave so.
If I'm a man, let me have my fortune. Ecod, I'll be made a fool no longer.
Is this ungrateful boy all the time to get for the pains I have taken in your education? I that have rocked your cradle and fed that pretty mouth with a spoon!
Ecod, I tell you, I'll be made a fool no longer.
Wasn't it all for your good, Viper? Wasn't it all for your good?
I wish you'd let me and my good alone for once. Snubbing this way when I'm in spirits. If I'm to have any good, let it come of itself, not to keep dinging it into oneself.
It's false. I never see you when you're in spirits. No, Tony, you then go to the alehouse or kennel. I'm never to be delighted with your agreeable wild notes, unfeeling monster.
Ecod, Mama, your own notes are the wildest of the two.
Was there ever the like? But I see. He wants to break my heart. I see that he does.
Dear madam.
Yes.
Permit me to lecture the young gentleman a little. I'm certain I can persuade him to his duty.
Well, I must retire. Come, Constance, my love. You see, Mr. Hastings, the wretchedness of my situation. Was ever poor woman so plagued with such a dear, sweet, pretty, provoking, undutiful
So,
don't mind her. Let her cry. It's the comfort of her heart. I have seen her and sister cry over a book for an hour together, and they said they liked the book the more it made them cry.
Then you're no friend to the ladies, I find, my pretty young gentleman.
That's as I find 'em.
Not to her, of your mother's choosing, I dare answer. Constance, is it?
Ugh.
But to me, she appears a pretty well-tempered girl.
That's because you don't know her as well as I. Ecod, I know about every inch about her, and there's not a more bitter, cantankerous toad in all Christendom.
Pretty encouragement this for a lover.
I have seen her since the height of that. She has as many tricks as a hare in a thicket, or a colt the first day's breaking.
To me, she appears sensible and silent.
Aye, before company. But when she's with her playmate, she's as loud as a hog in a gate.
Oh, but there is a meek modesty about her. It charms me.
Yes, but curb her never so little. She kicks up and you're flung in a ditch.
Well, but you must allow her little beauty.
Bandbox, she's a made-up thing, man. Could you but see Bet Bouncer of these parts, you might then talk of beauty. Ecod, she has 2 eyes as black as night, and cheeks as red and broad as a pulpit cushion. She'd make 2 of she.
Well, what say you to a friend that would help you take this bitter bargain off your hands?
Come again.
Would you thank him that would take Miss Neville and leave you to happiness and your dear Betsy?
Aye, but where is there such a friend, for who would have her?
I am he. If you but assist me, I'll engage to whip her off to France, and you shall never hear more of her.
Assist you? Ecod, and so I will, to the last drop of my blood. I'll clap a pair of horses to your chase that shall trundle you off in a twinkling, and may he get you a part of her fortune beside in jewels that you little dream of.
Oh, my dear squire, this looks like a lad of spirit.
Come along then, and you will see more of my spirit than you had done with me.
What could my old friend Sir Charles mean by recommending his son as the modestest young man in town? To me, he appears the most impudent piece of brass that ever spoke with a tongue. He has taken possession of the easy chair by the fireside already. He took his boots off in the parlor and desired me to see them taken care of. I'm desirous to know how his impudence has affected my daughter. She will certainly be shocked by it. Well, my Kate, I see you have changed your dress as I told you. I believe there was no great occasion.
I find such pleasure, sir, in obeying your commands that I take care to observe them without ever debating their propriety.
And yet, Kate, I sometimes give you some cause, particularly when I recommend my modest gentleman to you as a husband today.
You taught me to expect something extraordinary, and I find the original exceeds the description.
I was never so surprised in my life. He has quite confounded all my faculties.
I never saw anything like it. A man of the world, too.
And he learned it all abroad. What a fool was I to think that a young man would learn modesty by traveling.
It seems all natural to him.
A good deal assisted by bad company and a French dancing master.
Sure you mistake, Papa. A French dancing master could have never taught him that awkward address, that timid look, that bashful manner.
Whose look? Whose manner, child?
Mr. Marlowe's. His timidity struck me at first sight.
Then your first sight's deceived you, for I think him one of the most brazen first sights that ever astonished my senses.
Sure, so you rally. I never saw anyone so modest.
And can you be serious? I never saw such a bouncing, swaggering puppy since I was born.
Surprising. He met me with a respectful bow, a stammering voice, and a look fixed on the ground.
He met me with a loud voice, a lordly air, and a familiarity that made my blood freeze.
He treated me with diffidence and respect, censured the manners of the age, admired the prudence of girls that never laughed, tired me with apologies for being too tiresome, then left the room with a Madam, I would not for the world detain you.
He spoke to me as if he knew me his whole life before, interrupted my best remarks with some silly pun, and when I was in my best story about the Duke of Marlborough, he asked me if I had not a good hand at making punch. Yes, Kate, he asked your father if he was a maker of punch.
Well, one of us must certainly be mistaken.
If he be what he has shown himself, I'm determined he shall never have my consent.
Well, if he be the sullen thing I take him, he shall never have mine.
In one thing, then, we are agreed. To reject him.
Yes, but upon some conditions. For if you should find him less impudent, and I more presuming, if you should find him more respectful, and I more importunate, I don't know, the fellow is well enough for a man, and certainly we don't meet many such at a horse fair in the country.
If we should find him so... But that's impossible. The first appearance has done my business. I'm seldom deceived in that.
And yet there may be many good qualities under that first appearance.
Aye. When a girl finds a fellow's outside to her taste, she then sets about guessing the rest of his furniture. With her, a smooth face stands for good sense, and a genteel figure for every virtue.
I hope so. A conversation that began with a compliment to my good sense doesn't end with a sneer at my understanding.
Pardon me, Kate, but if young man Mr. Brazen can find the art of reconciling contradictions, he may please us both, perhaps?
And as one of us must be mistaken, what if we go on to make further discoveries?
Agreed. But depend on it, I'm in the right.
Well, depend on it, I'm not much in the wrong.
Come, Father.
God, I have got them! My cousin Corn's necklaces, bobs and all. Whoa. My mother shan't cheat the poor souls out of their fortune either. Oh, he's cool. My Genus, is that you?
Oh, my dear friend, how have you managed with your mother? I hope you have amused her with pretending love for your cousin and that you are willing to be reconciled at last. Our horses will be refreshed in a short time and we shall soon be ready to set off.
And here's something to bear your charges, by the way. Whoa. Yeah. Your sweetheart's jewels. Keep them and hang those, I say, that would rob you of one of them.
But how have you procured them from your mother?
Ask me no questions and I'll tell no fibs. I procured them by rule of thumb. If I had not a key to every drawer in my mother's bureau, how could I go to the coffee house as often as I do? An honest man may rob himself of his own at any time.
Oh, thousands do it every day, but to be plain with you, Miss Neville is endeavoring to procure them from her aunt this very instant. If she succeeds, it will be the most delicate way, at least, of obtaining them.
Yes, well, keep them till you know how to be. But I know how to be well enough. She'd as soon part with the only sound tooth in her head.
But I dread the effects of her resentment when she finds she has lost them.
Never you mind her resentment. Leave me to manage that. I don't value her resentment the bounce of a cracker. Zoons, here they come. Prance!
Indeed, Constance, you amaze me. Such a girl as you want jewels. There will be time enough for jewels, my dear, 20 years hence when your beauty begins to want for repairs.
But what will repair beauty at 50, 40? Will certainly improve it at 20, madam.
Yours, my dear, can admit of none. That natural blush is beyond 1,000 ornaments. Besides, child, jewels are quite out at present. Don't you see half the ladies of our acquaintance? My Lady Kill, Daylight, Mrs. Crump, and the rest of them carry their jewels to town and bring nothing but paste and marcasites back.
But who knows, madam? But somebody, that shall be nameless, would like me best with all my little finery about me.
Consult your glass, my dear, and then see if, with such a pair of eyes, you could want any better sparklers. Tony, come here. What do you think, my dear? Does your cousin, Con, want any jewels in your eyes to set off her beauty?
Maybe.
My dear aunt, if you knew how it would oblige me.
A parcel of old-fashioned rose and table-cut things. Besides, child, I believe I can't readily come at them. They may be missing, for aught I know to the contrary.
Then why don't you tell her so at once? Since she's so longing for them, tell her they're lost. It's the only way to quiet her. Tell her they're lost and call me to bear witness.
You know, my dear, I'm only keeping them for you, so if I say they're gone, you'll bear me witness, will you?
Never fear me. Ecod, I'll say, I saw them taken out with my own eyes. Oh!
I desire them but for a day, madam, just to be permitted to show them as relics, and then they may be locked up again.
To be plain with you, my dear Constance, if I could find them, you would but have them, but... They're missing, I assure you. Lost for aught I know, but we must have patience wherever they are.
I'll not believe it. This is but a shallow pretense to deny me. I know they are too valuable to be so slightly kept, and as you are to answer for the loss...
Don't be alarmed, Constance. If they be lost, I must restore an equal parrot. The equivalent. But my son knows they're missing and not to be found.
I can bear witness to that. They're missing and not to be found. I'll take my oath on it.
You must learn resignation, my dear, for though we lose our fortunes, we shall not lose our patience. See me, how calm I am.
Aye, people are generally calm at the misfortunes of others.
Well, we shall soon find them, and in the meantime you shall make use of my garnets till your jewels be found.
I detest garnets.
The most becoming things in the world to set off a clear complexion. You have often seen how well they look upon me. I'll fetch them now.
I dislike them of all things. You shan't.
You shall have them.
Was ever anything so provoking to mislay my own jewels and force me to wear her trumpery?
Don't be a fool. If she gives you the garnets, take what you can get. The jewels are your own already. I have stolen them out of her bureau, and she does not know it. Fly to your spa. Can't tell you more of the matter. Leave me to manage her.
My dear cousin, I will.
Confusion! Thieves! Robbers!
Vanish Khan, she's here and missed them already.
Thieves! Robbers! We are cheated, plundered, broke open, undone!
What's the matter, Mama? What's the matter? I hope nothing's happened to the good family.
We are robbed. My bureau has been broken open, the jewels taken away, and I am undone.
Oh, is that all? By the laws, Mama! I never saw it acted better in my life. I thought you was ruined in earnest.
Why, boy, I am ruined in earnest. My bureau has been broken open and all taken away.
Stick to that. Stick to that. I'll bear witness, you know. Call me to bear witness.
I tell you, Tony, by all that's precious, the jewels are gone, and I shall be ruined forever.
Sure, I know they're gone, and I'm to say so.
My dearest Tony, but hear me. They're gone, I say.
By the laws, Mama, you make me for to laugh. I know who took them well enough.
Was there ever such a blockhead that can't tell the difference between jest and earnest? I tell you, I'm not in jest.
That's right. That's right. You must be in a bitter passion. Then nobody will suspect either of us. I'll bear witness that they're gone.
Was there ever such a cross-grained brute that won't hear me? Can you bear witness you're no better than a fool? Was ever poor woman so beset with fools on the one hand and thieves on the other?
I can bear witness to that.
Bear witness again, you blockhead, you, and I'll turn you out of the room directly. My poor niece, what will become of her? Do you laugh? You unfeeling brute, as if you enjoyed my distress?
I can bear witness to that!
Do you insult me, monster? I'll teach you to vex your mother, I will.
I can bear witness to that!
All clear. Huh, huh, huh. Ay, 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 ay.
What an unaccountable creature is that brother of mine to send him to the house as an inn. I don't wonder at his impudence.
But what is more, madam, the young gentleman, as you passed by in your present dress, asked me if you were the barmaid. He mistook you for the barmaid, madam.
Did he? Then as I live, I am resolved to keep up the delusion. Tell me, Pickle, how do you like my present dress?
It's the dress, madam, that every lady wears in the country, except for when she receives or visits company.
And are you sure he does not remember my face or person?
Certain of it.
I vow I thought so. But though we spoke for some time together, yet his fears were such that he never once looked up during the interview. If he had, my bonnet would have kept him from seeing me.
But what do you hope from keeping him in his mistake?
Well, in the first place, I shall be seen. And that is no small advantage to a girl who brings her face to market. Then I shall perhaps make an acquaintance, which is no small victory gained over one who never addresses any but the lowliest of women. But my chief aim is to take my gentleman off his guard. And then, like an invisible champion of romance, examine the giant's force before I offer to combat.
But are you sure you can act your part and disguise your voice so he may mistake that, as he's already mistaken your person?
Never fear me, Pickle. I think I've got the true backhand. Did your honor call? Attend the lion there, pipes and tobacco for the angel. The lamb looks outrageous this half hour.
It'll do, madam, but the gentleman's come here.
What's a bawling in every part of the house? I have scarce a moment's repose. If I go to the best room, there I find my host and his story. If I fly to the gallery, there we have my hostess with her curtsy down to the ground. I have at last got a moment to myself, and now for recollection.
Did you call, sir? Did your honor call?
As for Miss Hardcastle, she's too grave and sentimental for me.
Did you call, sir?
No, child. Besides, from the glimpse I had of her, I think she squints.
I'm sure, sir, I heard the bell ring.
No, no. I have pleased my father, however, by coming down, and I'll tomorrow please myself by returning.
Perhaps the other gentleman called, sir.
I tell you, no.
I should be glad to hear it. We have such a parcel of servants.
No, no, I tell you. Yes, I think I did call. I wanted, I vow you are vastly handsome.
Oh, la, sir, you'll make one ashamed.
Never saw a more sprightly, malicious eye. Yes, yes, my dear, I did call. Have you got any of your, what do you call it in the house?
No, sir, we've been out of that these 10 days.
One may call in this house, I find, to very little purpose. Suppose I should call for a taste, just by way of a trial of the nectar of your lips. Perhaps I might be disappointed in that, too.
Nectar? Nectar, that's a liquor there's no call for in these parts. French, I suppose. We sell no French wines here, sir.
Of true English growth, I assure you.
Then it's odd I should not know it. We brew all sorts of wines in this house, and I've lived here these 18 years.
18 years? Why, one would think, child, you kept the bar before you were born. How old are you?
Oh, sir, I must not tell my age. They say women and music should never be dated.
To guess at this distance, you can't be much above 40. Yet nearer, I don't think so much. Coming close to some women, they look younger still, but when we come very close indeed...
Pray, sir, keep your distance. One would think you wanted to know one's age as they do horses by mark of mouth.
I protest, child, you use me extremely ill. If you keep me at this distance, how is it possible that you and I can ever be acquainted?
Oh, and who wants to be acquainted with you? I want no such acquaintance, not I. I'm sure you do not treat Miss Hardcastle, that was here a while ago, in this obstreperous manner. I'll warrant me, before her you looked dashed and kept bowing to the ground and spoke for all the world as if you was before a justice of peace.
Egad, she has hit it sure enough. In awe of Miss Hardcastle, child? A mere awkward, squinting thing, no. I find you don't know me. I laughed and rallied her a little, but I was unwilling to be too severe. No, I could not be too severe. Curse me.
Oh, then, sir, you are a favorite, I find, among the ladies.
Yes, my dear. A great favorite, and yet hang me, I don't see what they find in me to follow. At the ladies' club in town, I'm known as their agreeable Rattle. Rattle is not my real name, but one I'm known by. Mr. Rattle, my dear, at your service.
Hold, sir. You are introducing me to your club, not yourself, and you're so great a favorite there, you say?
Yes, my dear, there's, Mrs. Mantrap, Lady Betty Blackleg, the Countess of Sligo, Mrs. Langhorns, Miss Biddy Buckskin, and your humble servant. Keep up the spirit of the place.
So it's a very merry place then, I suppose.
Yes, as merry as card, supper, wine, and old women can make us.
And their agreeable Rattle.
Gad, I don't quite like this talk. She looks knowing, methinks. You laugh.
I can't but laugh, sir, to think what time they have for minding their work or family.
All's well, she don't laugh at me. Do you ever work?
Sure, there's not a screen or quilt in this old house, but work can bear witness to that.
Odd so. Then you must show me your embroidery. I embroider and draw patterns myself a little too. If you want to judge of your work, you must apply to me.
But the colors do not look well by candlelight. You shall see all in the morning. Let me go.
And why not now, my angel? Such beauty fires beyond the power of resistance.
Hold there! I say, sir!
Ugh, the landlord's here. My old luck. I never threw a winner without throwing 3 winners afterward.
So, madam, so I find this is your modest lover. This is your humble admirer that kept his eyes fixed on the ground and only adored at a humble distance? Kate, are thou not ashamed to deceive your father so?
Trust me, dear papa, but he's still the modest man I first took him for. You'll be convinced of it as well as I.
By the hand of my body, I believe his impudence is infectious. Didn't I see him seize your hand? Didn't I see him haul you about like a milkmaid? And now you talk of his respect and his modesty, forsooth!
But if I can shortly convince you of his modesty, that he has only the faults that will pass off with time and the virtues that will improve with age, I hope you'll forgive him.
This girl would actually make one run mad. I'll tell you, I'll not be convinced. I am convinced. He has scarce been in this house 3 hours, and he has already encroached on all my prerogatives. You may like his impudence and call it modesty, but my son-in-law, madam, must have very different qualifications.
Sir, I ask but just this night to convince you.
You shall not have half the time, for I have thoughts of turning him out this very hour.
Give me that hour then, and I hope to satisfy you.
An hour let it be then. that I'll have no trifling with your father. All fair and open. Do you mind me?
I hope, sir, that you have found that I considered your commands as my pride. And your kindness is such that my duty as yet has been inclination.